call, please.
President Peng,
Here.
Vice President Romano,
Here.
Mr. Shi,
Here.
Ms. White,
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel, Mr. Baral Patel,
Present.
Mr. Schneider,
Here.
Mr. Rivera, Mr. Vishal Patel.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Opening statement.
Yes. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Law 1975, C-231 Sunshine Law, copies of this public meeting notice were sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger on January 3rd, 2023. Members of the public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws of the board and applicable state regulations.
Thank you. Next, we have the, is it audit or is the student council? Just audit? Or student council first? Why is it- Okay, let's do the audit.
Audit presentation.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do the audit presentation first.
Good evening. Is this on? Yep. Okay, cool. My name is Chris Bodecker. I am a manager.
Can you get the microphone closer?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to just lean down here a little bit? Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. I'm a manager at HFA. I was in charge of the audit this year. First off, I just want to thank Mr. Toth, Dr. Aldarelli, the entire board here for having me tonight to present. So I'll just get into it. I won't take very much of your time. So one or two spots I like to point out in the audit are the letter of transmittal and management's discussion and analysis. These are two reports that are prepared by us, the auditors, and management together that kind of do a good job of summarizing all the additional information behind in all the supplemental schedules. It's kind of an easier to understand, easier to digest piece of the audit. Next, we have our audit opinions. There are 3 opinions in the audit. The first one is called the Independent Auditor's Report. We are required to conduct our audit in accordance with GAAP, GAS, which is Governmental Auditing Standards, and any additional requirements set forth by New Jersey. We have an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest opinion we can render. It means that all the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects as of June 30th, 2022. We also have the Independent Auditor's Report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance, and the Independent Auditor's Report on compliance and report on internal control over compliance of major programs. Again, we have an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest opinion we can give. These opinions state that the school district complied in all material respects with the types of requirements that are set forth for state and federal grant programs for the year. So we have our clean opinion, our unmodified opinion, but we do have some findings that we need to discuss or need to be presented. So the first 2 findings are actually repeat findings from the prior year. It was noted during the audit that the district was not maintaining a complete and accurate general ledger, and entries were needed at the end of the year to bring it into compliance. Bank recs were not being performed accurately or timely. Our third finding was that there was no available student listing in relation to the district report of transported resident students. Our fourth finding was that the district needs or should complete and provide an up-to-date appraisal report on fixed assets at the end of the year. Our fifth is at the end of the year, the district currently does not record any encumbrances. It would be good practice to distinguish between accounts payable and encumbrances at year end. And lastly is that the district overexpended 1 line item within their budget. A corrective action plan will be necessary for these findings. So moving forward, we also did what's called a single audit. We are required to look more closely at certain programs if the district spends over $750,000 combined or individually in their federal and state grant programs. So those programs that we look at are determined based off of a few different things, but mainly it's size, complexity, and maturity at either the auditee level or the agency level. So the state programs we looked at were the state aid public cluster and the TPAF Social Security contributions. And the 3 federal programs we looked at were your special education cluster, which is IDEA, your Title I, and your Education Stabilization Fund, which is all that new ESSER and ART money. We found no additional findings or comments or issues with any of our single audits that we performed. Lastly, the only numbers that I'll bother you with for the entire night, we have a breakdown of our fund balance on the bottom of our C1. So of that fund balance is made up of different components. So we have a capital reserve of about $23.58 million. We have a maintenance reserve of about $1.3 million. We have an emergency reserve of about $1 million, an unemployment reserve of about $607,000, an excess surplus of about $5.75 million. That will be utilized in the 23-24 budget. We had excess surplus designated for subsequent years' expenditures of $661,000 and assigned designated for subsequent years' expenditures of about $5.4. That was already used in the 22-23 budget, and then unassigned of $14.2. That is really all I have for you tonight on my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions, whether it's tonight or in the future. Mr. Toth knows how to get hold of me. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. And that's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board members? No?
Yeah, Board President?
Yeah, Mr.
Yeah, I have some
Schneider.
questions. Mr. Bodecker, is it?
Yep, that's correct.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Couple questions. So, just to be clear, the timeline for this audit is from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, correct?
That is correct.
So this basically settles everything out as of, I don't know, a little less than a year ago.
That's correct, yes.
I mean, nobody that's a board member does the accounting. We don't run the district. We just are here to make sure it's well-run, as they say, right? So there's some significant findings here. Is it the business administrator that's in charge of all of these things?
Yes and no. It's in conjunction with it could be in conjunction with the entire finance office with other pieces. I know that there's been some turnover in the business office, and we believe that a lot of these, if not already corrected, will be corrected or are in the process of being corrected. But yes, at the end of the day, the accounting falls with the accounting positions.
I say that, I know Mr. Toth is up here with us, and just to be clear so everybody hears, he was not employed during this time here in Edison, which is interesting and important to note. There's two findings that seem pretty big. One says that we didn't keep an accurate and complete ledger, and one says we did not reconcile the books. Am I right as a layman assuming that those are huge findings?
Yes, and they were findings from the prior auditor and the prior business administration office that were not corrected.
So with that, how many years in a row did we have the same finding?
That I'm not sure of. This is our first year appointed as auditors, so I know at least two. I can't go back. I could go back farther. I just don't have that information for you at the time.
So on the scale to from good to bad, this is really bad that we're not reconciling our books?
I mean, it's obviously, it's not good. You obviously want to keep your numbers correct, but we didn't think anything was so out of line that we felt the need to modify our opinion. And that's kind of something you need to keep in mind too, because we still offered the cleanest opinion we could. We thought that materially, nothing was so out of whack that we couldn't fairly present the audit tonight.
So I know that what a corrective action plan is for education. How does it apply to us here financially?
So John and the business office will have to put together basically a plan and submit it to the DOE on how these mistakes will be corrected moving forward. And at next year's audit, we'll say, there's a section in our audit about prior year findings where we'll state the results of that corrective action plan, that everything was implemented correctly.
And is this so this isn't state monitoring, this is a step below that?
Yes, correct. I don't want to say definitively anything, but no, this is not a state monitoring situation.
Right, it's okay, it's below that, that's good. And the last question I have for you is, I see reserve accounts here. maybe I missed it. Is there a health reserve account that's noted here at all?
So we didn't, due to conversations, we determined not to set it up as an actual fund balance reserve, but there is a liability on our books, you can see on the B1, that is that health reserve. So it is set up this year. That's actually setting up that health reserve is what triggered one of the findings with overexpending a line item, because we had to charge out to create that reserve.
Got it.
Board President, may I ask?
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you.
Mohan Patel.
I'm finished, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bodak?
Yes.
Just to reiterate, what was your finding again? This was an unmodified?
Unmodified, which is the cleanest opinion we can give.
So
It's-
the
that's
cleanest
just-
opinion you could give. That
Correct.
means we're good. We don't have to make just a few corrections that we do, right?
Yeah, we just need the corrective action plan for the findings, but yeah,
So
that's.
no major issues whatsoever. This is the cleanest you could give, correct?
The financial statements were presented materially correct to us, yes.
Perfect. So I just wanted to clarify this was the cleanest audit you could give. Thank you.
Thank you. Any,
Madam President?
yeah, Mr. Shi?
So what are the levels of the opinions that you can share with us? Because it's an unmodified opinion, what's it's the cleanest opinion, that level? What are the other levels? And what is that level that will trigger state monitoring? Because that was mentioned by one of my colleagues here.
So there's unmodified, which is the clean opinion. There's modified, which is a level below that. There's adverse, and then there's us basically taking a step back and saying we don't even want to give an opinion on this because the records are so poorly presented. By being unmodified, we're saying that everything that was presented to us was materially correct in that, yes, we had findings and issues, but we're not afraid to render an opinion because if we have financial statements given to us and we feel uncomfortable about the numbers, it can blow back on us as well. So we felt comfortable enough to give the unmodified opinion on the financial statements.
Madam President.
Thank you.
So you have done audits for more than one district, I'm pretty sure, right?
Correct.
Is that a common to find some issues when you come to the audit and you issue unmodified opinion?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a one-time thing. This is not like your district is standing out, like outstanding outside of other districts where we have findings. It's common.
So it is common to find one or two things that you offer unmodified opinion on.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Board President?
Thank you. Mr. Schneider?
Is it common to not reconcile your books for 2 years?
Yeah, the military has done it for $800
I'm asking him the
trillion
question, Mr. Patel.
$800 million. Billions.
This is important to me. You'll note that my name is on the top of this audit report as I was board president for 6 months and Mr. Shi was board president for 6 months of this audit period. So I'm asking questions. I'm happy to hear that it's unmodified as I was board president during this time of this audit.
What was Mr. Shi?
So I'm just asking our auditor if it's common to not reconcile your books for 2 years.
No, it's not common.
And is it common not to have, let's see. Is it common not to have complete and accurate general ledgers maintained?
I wouldn't say it's common to not have complete and accurate general ledgers, but there is almost zero instances where we will do an audit without having to prepare some kind of adjusting journal entries to the finance office.
Good. I'm happy that everything's good now. Thank you.
Mr. Romano?
I am the person that was selected to be the library person to go there and to listen to and. Is it common to have an audit that hasn't been done since 2019 in the township? Is it common to have an audit that hasn't been done since 2020?
Are you talking about this?
I'm talking.
Sorry.
Is it common that the audit wasn't done in the year 2021 or 2022? Last time I known, the date is 2023. So the Board of Ed isn't doing really that bad of a job when the township can't reconcile the library committee or the library board. They can't recognize or reconciliation or whatever you want to call it since 2019. That's only a statement. You don't have to answer.
Board President, if I may clarify that as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mahmood.
Joe, for bringing that up. And that was basically just to reiterate his point that, you know what, these audits that happen, sometimes there's a few things that are missing, sometimes there's everything that's all there. He's basically talking about the township not doing their job for the library board to get that audit. So just to give you some clarification as to what his point was. And just to,
I believe our firm is not involved with that.
I understand that Sam hasn't done his job for the audits very well for the library. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon,
Yeah, Mr.
I'm
White,
sorry.
Mrs. White.
but you said that our business administrator is going to address all of these issues and put everything in order, okay? Now, all of this occurred from when our last superintendent was here and he doubled as our business administrator. This is how all of this came about and the different things. It's just a personal thing. This is what happens when you wear too many hats. You know, it just is something that happens, but I'm happy that it's correctable and that Jonathan is gonna, look into it and take care of it. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
Of course, no problem at all. And once again, if there's any other questions, I am happy to answer anything. Mr. Toth has my contact information, cell phone, email, any questions, seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Bodick, and thank you to all your colleagues at your firm, HFA.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Dr. Adarelli, I think we have another presentation.
Great, thank you, Board President. At this time, it's my understanding that in lieu of Mr. Amato's committee report and discussion of the Special Education Committee, we are going to have a presentation from our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Tui. So at this time, I'd like to welcome him up to the front.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm really excited to present this information, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. Just as by way of introductions, for everybody in the crowd I haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Tom Tui. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Special Services. And I wanted to take a chance to thank the full Board of Education, but most importantly, our Special Education Committee. Mr. Amato is our chair, Mr. Rivera, Mr. Snyder, and Mr. Patel are all members. The reason I point that out is I have to do a little bit of a carve-out here, a little bit of an asterisk. Although I'm a special education administrator, and this presentation is coming from the Special Education Committee, preschool expansion is not inherently a special education initiative. What I'm going to be talking about tonight is preschool expansion for all students, not just special ed kids. Now, there's a pretty significant nexus between special education and early childhood education that I'll get into a little bit later. But for the purposes of kicking it off, let's talk about what preschool expansion aid is and why we're going to pursue it. Number one, preschool expansion aid is federal funding allocated by the New Jersey Department of Education to local public schools to expand preschool offerings and provide universal preschool. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit in the next couple slides about some of these definitions. Universal preschool, our universe, funding rates, but for now I think it's important that we focus on the why. Why would the Board of Education pursue expanding their preschool offerings? And, in preparing for this, and in the interest of brevity, I kept coming back to the same thing. It's the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do for a couple reasons. Number one, on the student side, it's the right thing to do for kids because high quality early childhood education is probably one of the most researched phenomena in public education over the last 70 years. There is significant positive correlation to the things we want for our kids based on their access to early childhood education. Increased literacy rates, increased graduation rates, down the road, increased home ownership and employment. Additionally, the inverse is true. There's a significant negative correlation when students are not provided these programs. Graduation rates decline. We see students eligible more often for special ed and related services. And looking way out, increased rates of substance abuse and unemployment. This stuff matters. Now, this presentation will be posted on the district website under special services. The citations to those are in the notes section if anybody wants to check it out. But there's also a second level in terms of why this is the right thing to do. It's the right thing for kids, but it's also the right thing for the community. Again, if you look at what it is, it's federal funding allocated by the NJDOE to help districts expand. Now, as a parent who paid the monthly bill every month for preschool that looked like a car payment, I didn't have the opportunity to petition the federal government to say, hey, please pay my preschool bill. The district, by providing free pre-K, actually does. So I talked a little bit about the definitions and a little bit about the broad strokes, but let's get into that a little bit. So universal pre-K, again, is full day, 6-hour preschool for all 3 and 4-year-olds in district. And all 3 and 4-year-olds in district are the universe. That's how it's defined. The universe is defined by the NJDOE. Actually, we define it based on our annual state aid application. Essentially, what the state does is extrapolates down to 3 and 4-year-olds to indicate how many students we would have to accommodate within 5 years to meet that mandate. Now, our special education students are included in that mix, but because they're funded through the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act grant, they're not included for funding purposes. So when we talk about what the funding rate looks like, when the district is successful in this application and we actually scale up over 5 years, we're going to be looking at funding for in-district programs to the tune of $13,986 per student for an in-district program, and I'll talk about the distinction between the two in a few slides, and $15,720 for partnerships with private licensed child care centers. Now, one of the things in talking to the committee that jumped out was, if this is so great, this is something that's available to the district, available to our families, can meet the needs of our entire universe in 3 and 4-year-olds, why haven't we pursued it before? These funds have been around for a long time. There's a few answers to that. Number one, we have a pretty significant infrastructure barrier in this district that the board, to your credit, is attempting to overcome over the next 5 years. One of the requirements for the program is all students, general education and special education students, in order to accept funds from the federal government, need to be full day. We currently have a group of special education students who attend on a half-day basis. And the reason that's impactful to infrastructure is, the best way to think about it is, if I'm a half-day teacher, I have 2 groups of kids, AM and PM, right? And I have 1 chair. Each one of those chairs can accommodate 2 students. The second you go full day, you inherently double the size of your programs. Now, again, with some of the plans that the Board of Education has, in addition to some of the plans as a department we have with existing infrastructure, we can accommodate those students in district in addition to some other general education students. One of the other things that, I wouldn't say it's a reason why we hadn't done it, but one of the motivating factors is, over the last few years, funding for this program has been increased. So on a very personal level, not speaking as an employee of the Board of Education or as an educator, just speaking as a human being that kind of through my position has access to moving a department towards like securing these funds, it's just too much to leave on the table for our community, right? Like, every one of our families that has a 3 or a 4-year-old could have access, not to these dollars, but these services. The final one that probably presented the biggest barrier to the district moving forward with this over the last few years was the fact that only this year we went to a full-day kindergarten program. So think about that, again, from a parent's perspective. If I'm the parent of a child who's involved in preschool expansion aid, and they're 3 and they go to school full day, and they're 4 and they go to school full day, and then as a 5-year-old they enter our kindergartens and I tell them that they're going back to a half-day program, I question whether or not that's developmentally appropriate, and I give kudos to the board for moving forward with full-day kindergarten because it opens up the opportunities on the bottom end. So what are the goals that we have in terms of application and what this looks like rolling out? So we have to think creatively a little bit for this to work. Number one, April of next year, the district will successfully apply for a preschool application aid. And when we do that, we have to demonstrate to the state how we plan to meet our universe or encapsulate all those students by 2930. The first year of that plan will be to partner with our private licensed childcare centers. I'm going to talk a little later about what that looks like, the mechanics of it. And then ultimately, the final goal is to hit that entire universe, that 2,192 students by September 2029. I think we can get there sooner. I know we can get there sooner. I've talked to districts throughout Middlesex County that have had a lot of success getting there within 3 to 4 years. So this is just an anticipated timeline, give you some sense of what the plans are over the next couple years. So in year one, well, not year one, but in 22-23, to prepare for application, we want to staff our unused pre-K space. This will allow us to go full day for all of our in-district students. We want to present plans to the community. That's what we're doing tonight. And then ultimately in the spring of this year, in the summer, have a meeting with our private licensed child care centers. I'm going to talk about those numbers a little later and what those programs look like to gauge their capacity and secure partners. That will allow us to provide for or apply for expansion aid in 23-24. So in 23-24, next school year, we'll complete our PEA application. We will complete our lottery procedures. Right now, we do have a small general education preschool in the district that's run through a lottery, so we are familiar with it. Address any IEP changes that need to happen going from half-day programs to full-day programs. And this is when, as a district, we start to look at leveraging some of those infrastructure improvements we've done district-wide. Whether it's budgeting or creating architecture for district-owned properties or pursuing lease spaces in the community. You can use PEA applications to pay for improvements and pay for leases. There's a number of opportunities out there. This is when we have to start really thinking about, okay, we know there's going to be a remainder of this universe once our privates pick up some students. What are we going to do with everybody else? 2024, 2025, that's our first year of implementation. This is the first time students walk into either private licensed child care centers or our buildings under the guise of preschool expansion aid. This is also the year that everybody becomes full day. So during that year, we're going to continue the process of looking to secure lease spaces and beginning our construction if necessary. And then over the course of the next few years, it's going to be the process on repeat. Continue to lock down those private partners, continue to explore expansion within the district, either if it's based on existing construction projects or properties we currently own or lease space. The opportunities are actually pretty endless at this point. So once you get beyond 24, 25, it becomes the process on repeat. Continue to secure the privates, continue to secure space. So there are some considerations, and I may have hit this a little too hard, but all students, not just general education, all of our students, ages 3 and 4, in order to be eligible for this program, need to be full day. I think that's an incredible solution from a developmental standpoint for some of our most significantly challenged students in district, and I think it's a secondary benefit to our special services department that we wouldn't have otherwise realized. And then finally, this idea of the universe. I know I talked about having to incorporate each student in that 2100 before 2930. District-wide, on the state website, there are currently 43 private licensed child care centers in Edison. When you adjust that number to remove centers that are just there for aftercare or tutoring agencies, we're looking at between 15 and 20 potential partners. Now, again, in talking to colleagues throughout the state, in talking to colleagues throughout Middlesex County, there's significant interest on the private side to partner with school districts who can access these funds. The first step is to sit down with those individuals as a group, explain the requirements of the aid. It does come with strings, whether it's classroom size, whether it's teacher certifications, whether it's curriculum, all things that in the background we've been preparing for. And that will ultimately generate our year one aid application. So from there, it's us to make a collective decision that this is something we want to move forward with. Now, financially, it's a winner. Just some round numbers. If we grab the entire universe, we're looking at north of $27 million injected into the budget. Another way to look at that is each classroom of 15 general education students, the district would realize about $210,000 per classroom. again, all of my colleagues that have either been doing this for 2 years or 20. I wish Mr. Rivera's here. He connected me with somebody in Perth Amboy who's actually been involved since the inception. All of them, separate and distinct from the positive impact this has on students, have reiterated the fact that it's a self-sustaining program from an aid standpoint, from a budgetary standpoint. So, just very quickly, before I wrap this up, I was in my office late this afternoon. I was like, hey, let me look into this number. And it landed right about, I shouldn't say right where I thought it was, but pretty close. In a population the size of Edison, right, check this out, you have just under 3 births a day, which means there's a kid born every 8 hours in a population a little over 100,000. So since we all woke up this morning, there's a little kid born whose future is going to be indelibly impacted by the decisions we make over the next couple months. I mean, that's powerful. And one of the things I shared with Dr. Aldarelli is, as educators, we very often don't think big enough, right? And Edison's a big place. It's a big community. There's a large population. Geographically, it's big. I look at my colleagues, and there's big personalities. But you know, I'm new here. I've been here for 2 years. And one of the things that has jumped out at me is that there really isn't much in this community that's bigger than the extent to which you guys are willing to do the right thing by your students. So, I don't know, if you want to come with me, welcome to preschool.
Mr. Romano.
Tom, thank you.
And no worries.
In collaboration with last year's board and this year's board and the administration, this is possible.
100%.
Everybody working together, we can make this happen. We can really make this happen. Early preschool education starts a young mind off with a tremendous advantage. And if it wasn't for the leadership from last year and the year before that and this year, you'd be talking to people that had no idea what was going on. Now, yes, there was only a couple of people, maybe 3 people, 4 people that knew exactly what you were talking about. The board now is, my opinion, impressed. The idea about space in the last board meeting, in the public session, people have asked us about our space. Well, that was in consideration 18 months ago. And we're looking for more space to accommodate our children, to educate our youngsters. And what our job is, to see that it runs well. That's what our job is. Now, with the new administration here, I think we're on the right path. We are on the right trajectory. So I really, really, really want to thank you. And I'm looking forward to working with you again with this committee to try to find that elusive space that we desperately need. But we can do this. I've talked to you and I've talked to some other people in town, and we could do it. And I think it would be a feather in the cap for everyone here, especially the parents that have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and our educators in kindergarten, that when our children, their children, come to the schools, it's nothing but outer space for them. It's just sky's the limit. So anybody that would talk bad about it, I'm sorry. You're not going to talk to me about how bad it is. I think it's a home run. Thank you, Mr. Toohey. Thank you very much.
Shannon?
Thank you.
Can I say
Ms. White.
Dr. Toohey, we had the liaison meeting this morning where we had Assemblyman Karabinchik in there, and he spoke at length on funding and grants for preschool. So, you know, help is out there. We just have to reach out for it.
100%.
Good job.
Great
Thanks.
job.
Ms. Bang,
Thank you.
can you go?
Mr. Bishop Patel?
So I want to extend the kudos to you and the entire committee. It's amazing idea. I love the way you presented the plan. It's like a 3-year, 5-year plan and path to get there. One question I have is, do we have to offer the program to all the students in year 1, or we have to get there eventually to get there?
I'm glad you asked that. No, you can offer a percentage in year 1. You have to meet that universe by year 5. In fact, year 1 would be relatively small. We're going to have a lottery procedure to determine who gets to go. So the short answer is absolutely not. We don't have to accommodate all 2,200 of those students in year 1. We do have to down the road.
And that sounds very achievable. I agree with Mr. Romano. We together can make it happen. Thank you.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, I just want to say thank you. Kudos to the job that you've done and bringing it from the previous boards to try to get it to this point where we're at. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. I think the parents will appreciate it a lot with their preschoolers coming in 2024, 25.
Yeah.
And like you said, 3 years from now is when we're going to be ready to go. So appreciate it. It's like a seed. We plant it, and it starts growing. We got to water it, and that's what we're doing right now. It was planted 3 years ago. Now it's getting watered, and the sun is rising. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Mr. Shi?
so I was waiting for this presentation for 4 months now. So I'm so glad to see that. And I had a similar question that Mr. Patel asked. So as long as we can accommodate a certain number of people,
Yes.
and we should be able to get the state to pay for majority of the costs, because I recorded it's 13,986 if we do it internally, and 15,720. That's somewhere around our average per student cost.
Yes.
For our district. Yes, that's great. The only concern that I have is these private institutions. Do they have can they pick students? Can they pick? I want student A, not student B. Can they do that? And I don't want to see that happening, because if you're providing universal pre-K, just like we provide universal education, you can't pick.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually did miss a slide. So in the 2 ways we can provide these preschool programs, I want to call your attention to partnership with PLCCs, the box on the right. Now, it's pretty clear that those are existing preschools. They have existing staff, or they go out and hire staff. But at the end of the day, we're the intermediary between the state government and the preschools. So, from an operational standpoint, what that lottery looks like, how students get there, what curriculum is chosen, and ultimately the training that the teachers get, that's really on us to validate to the state that that's happening in an equitable manner. So to answer your question clearly, it's based on the lottery procedures we decide. I will tell you that in talking to some districts in the county, if you had a family that was previously attending a private preschool and they were accepted via the lottery, we typically try to make that accommodation. But no, the privates are not allowed to pick their own kids.
Thank you so much. That's very important to me, because we are the one who dictate, what is chosen. And you touched also on the curriculum, and we have control on the curriculum, and they need to follow what we outline, to have a better connection down the road.
And the Board of Education actually currently has one of the state-approved curriculums in FDR and EELC right now. Dr. Shalp, who's our principal at both buildings, doing a fantastic job, is actually going to get trained as a coordinator for that curriculum this summer. So many districts scramble looking to bring on a curriculum that's part of this expansion aid. We already have it, which is nice.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Romano for leading the committee. And last year, this committee did not exist. We didn't hear anything about this. And now we have a dedicated committee just to work on this. And I know he has also been looking for spaces very actively to see if we can accommodate. So I'm looking forward to a lot of progress, and I hope we'll see more and more 3 and 4-year-olds get enrolled into these programs.
That's the
Thank you very
plan.
much.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say, kudos to Dr. Tui, Dr. Anarelli, all the administration, and especially to the Special Ed Committee for having all this done and having it started. Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate the thanks, but thank me in 5 years, because this is a massive undertaking, and it's something that's absolutely accomplishable, and I appreciate all the support. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next,
very
next,
exciting.
next time, make a bigger font, because I can't see it.
Yeah, okay. Noted.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Student Council representative, Ms. Serena Ahmad.
As Mr. Ross loves to highlight, and as I love to do, there's always so much to celebrate about Edison High. I mean, this air-conditioned auditorium that we're sitting in has been fantastic, especially with these 80-degree April days that we've been having. I'm encouraged to share student concerns at these meetings, so here are a few that have been brought to my attention. While we are on the note of expansions and improvements for the district, I know that Edison has a devout commitment to the arts, and I wanted to bring to attention our orchestra's lack of space. Members of the department have a single classroom, and for rehearsals, we usually have to share space with either band or choir, which causes scheduling conflicts and inconveniences. I know that Mr. Ross has been working with our orchestra director, Mrs. Militia, to figure out realistic solutions, and I think it's important to just keep on the radar as the board has been working out different plans with architects. While on the topic of the orchestra, the spring concert will be on May 24th here in the auditorium. Another student concern that I would like to bring up is just general safety concerns within our senior parking lot. Despite potential concerns with ownership, etc., I think that it is important for us to consider the issue of erosion and wear down on the ground and ramp causing safety issues. These problems, in conjunction with the location of the lot itself, have just created some risks for students both entering and exiting the lot, so may be important to consider in a long-term plan for the district. Lastly, an opinion article written by EHS Junior and Editor-in-Chief Soumya Joshi brought to my attention the desire for an ASL option for language within the district. In her article, Joshi brings up, quote, "In fact, as of 2015, sign language has been approved as a foreign language for New Jersey high schools. 8 years after this bill and decades after ASL's recognition, Edison High is still missing the option to take ASL as a language class," end quote. ASL instruction is undoubtedly a key way in honoring the district's commitment to diversity and inclusion. In addition to bridging the gap between hearing and non-hearing people, ASL fulfills the requirements of having a separate lexicon aside from English, thus being considered its own language despite being nonverbal. Equipping our students with a socially conscious, diverse linguistic skill set will undoubtedly prepare them for a world and a workforce that will both appreciate and require this versatility. I understand that introducing an entirely new course offering may be an extensive process. However, I think that it's absolutely something for us to consider moving forward for the district. I would be happy to discuss this with anyone interested, and if you are interested in reading Soumya's article in its entirety, it is entitled EHS Meets ASL, Here's Why, and it can be found on the EHS Eagles Eye website. Thank you all for listening, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Board President?
Yeah,
If I may
Mr.
add.
Rohan Patel.
Thank you for bringing up the parking lot issue that you're having here in the EHS. I actually had brought that issue up to our facilities manager, and we are currently working on trying to find a solution for that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And in terms of the orchestra, we're looking at all aspects of it. So when we have our next meeting, we'll bring that up as part of the issues as well. Thank you.
And we can certainly talk about have a discussion about the ASL in our curriculum committee and find out, how much is the interest, how we can find the resource. Okay.
Madam President.
Yeah, Mr. Shi.
Thank you for brought up the space issue here. So, we have gave the task to our architects to start design the expansion of the Edison High School. So we're going to do it different than last year. So we're going to expand the gym and the classrooms. So when we talk about classroom, it's not only the classroom itself, it's classroom, labs, common spaces, or rooms like orchestra room. Just to let you know, some things coming on the horizon. in JP Stevens at the current expansion plan. There are 3 big rooms. One is for their orchestra room, it's 2,000 square foot, and there are 2 separate flexible rooms. One is 1150, the other one is 1120. So, the same thing is going to happen in Edison High, just that unfortunately that it was not done before, so we try to catch up, and something will be happening, so the orchestra will be, they will have a bigger rooms, down the road.
Yeah, I'm just really happy that you brought the 3 issues up to us, and I'm sure we will have them addressed. Thank you. JP, I'm sorry, this is Amal?
Hello, everyone.
No, don't press it. Leave it.
Just
okay,
There
sorry.
you go. Now-
Hello, everyone. My name is Amol Bingarde, and I'm representing John P. Stevens High School. And I'm here to report on what's going on at JP on how our school is doing for the month of April. To start, this month has been highly anticipated by all of the seniors at our high school since college decisions have been released, and the results have been very positive. Early in the month, the JP Stevens Wind Ensemble traveled to Indianapolis to perform at the Music for All National Concert Band Festival, where they performed alongside bands from across the nation and had the opportunity to work with renowned clinicians. Our school has also recently participated in our school elections, with our candidates spending the previous week campaigning, putting up posters and flyers, and making speeches. The voting process on the Friday of the previous week was also a success. 5 students from the boys' winter track team competed at the New Balance National Championships in Boston in the distance medley and the 4x800 relay. They competed against the nation's best, and the relays had the highest times of this season. And we'd like to say congratulations to all of those students. This month also began spring sports, including spring track and field, baseball, softball, golf, lacrosse, and boys tennis and volleyball. Many of our teams have finished at least 1 meet or game as of today. And in terms of school clubs, the JP Stevens continues participating in the Student Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which aims to solve issues and improve upon matters relating to the inclusion of all of the students at our school. I'd also like to give acknowledgement that several of our Odyssey of the Mind teams have made it to the Worlds competition and are working towards achieving a high score and standing after their performance at the New Jersey State competition. 1 team from each problem will represent JP Stevens at the national level at the World Finals at the end of May. The JP Stevens FCCLA Club also recently attended the State Leadership Conference, where they received a high number of first-place gold awards and had a significant number of students qualify for the national competition in Denver, Colorado. Our school's theater company had their spring musical, Grease, and it was a huge success. The Student Council hosted the Mr. JPS event on March 24th, and it was a great success, with the event being completely sold out. Both of these shows were met with good compliments from everyone that attended. That concludes everything that has happened at John P. Stevens High School since the time of our last meeting to today. And I thank everyone for listening, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening.
Thank you. Board President?
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Mohin Patel.
Yeah, and I believe you guys are having on Thursday a Spirit Day, I guess, Spring Spirit, or?
Yes, I
Spirit?
believe so.
So just want to make sure that all the students participate fully and get involved.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Board
Good
President.
job.
Mr. Biro
Yes.
Patel.
So thank you so much for updating about FCCLA and the Odyssey of the Mind. I personally know students take much pride in that, work very, very hard over weeks and weeks, and that's how they make this all possible. So thank you so much. So whenever all the final results are out, if you can please email the whole board about all the achievements so we can recognize all of them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just have a quick question. The Mr. GPS, I happen to saw some clips from that event. It looks a lot of fun. Do you guys have eventually vote for Mr. GPS, or how does that work?
There was a panel of teachers that ended up choosing which students performed the best in all of the events, and then 1 student was chosen from all of the different participants. And to select the participants that participated in the competition, there was a Google form that was sent out to all the students, and the highest vote getters from JP were selected to participate in the event.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you. I think that events should really bring a lot of fun to the students.
Yeah, it was sold out, and I know that a lot of students were really excited to watch the event. I know, yeah, it was a really great school spirit event, I would say, overall.
Yes, I can.
So
can
good
see
that people are actually trying to sell their tickets for thrice the price for it. And it was standing room only, which is awesome. Good job.
Yeah, at least
And
they're having
kudos
fun.
to the coordinator for putting that up together as well, and all the students getting involved. Awesome job. That's what we need, more school spirit, more of these type of events, to just make sure the culture of being in high school is more adhered to instead of just only study.
Mhm.
Study will always be there, but you also need to be a high schooler as well, or grade schooler and elementary schooler too, middle schools. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the two representatives for coming here. Really appreciate your time. You're excused. Feel free to leave. We're going to continue with our other events. So next is public comments, resolution only. Anyone? No? Oh. For resolution only. If you have other questions, you can wait for the public comments, which is coming along. So if no comments on resolution, I'm going to call motion to end the public comments on resolution only.
Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the personnel report.
Motion.
Second?
Roll call?
Yes, that was a motion by
Jerry.
Mr. Romano, second by Mr. Shi.
Yes, I'm second.
Mr. Vishal Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Brawl Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Moen Patel,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Shi,
Yes.
Vice President Romano,
Yes.
President Peng.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve administration, curriculum, and instruction pupil special service reports.
You want to excuse on one of the item, longevity? You want to excuse one of the item in the personnel agenda?
On the personnel agenda?
Yeah. Longevity, number 6.
Number 6.
Look it
Okay,
up.
I'd like to abstain from number 6.
Yep.
What is number 6?
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
You don't have to. You're not an immediate family.
Second? Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay.
Second by
Roll
Mr.
call.
Romano.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Mr. Vishal Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Brawl Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Moen Patel.
Yes.
Abstention from Ms. White. Mr. Shi,
Yes.
Vice President Romano,
Yes.
President Peng.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve finance reports. Motion?
Motion.
Okay.
The
I
two
think that was,
Patels.
I think that was Mr.
Two.
Moen Patel first, seconded by Mr. Brawl Patel, but
Okay.
it was close.
Good call.
Your ears are working. Good job.
Barely.
You
Don't tell my wife that.
I saw Bureau's first. Beat it by 1 second.
Real quick, a point of clarification on the financial area, financial reports. I just wanted to make note that we did provide a corrective action plan here listed in item 1. So all of those findings have a corrective action that's going to be taken by myself in the business office, along with the method of implementation. So that's there submitted for you tonight in a summary. And in the addendum to the financial reports, it's both should be in the book and posted online, is the low bidder going to the Hoover School, going to GPC for the construction project as part of the second project of the Phase 1 capital projects with regards to overcrowding. And then we have another addendum for a contract at both high schools for new stadium lighting, both at JP and Edison. I just wanted to make sure that I was being fully transparent.
Just curious, a quick question. How many bids did we receive for Herbert Hoover?
A lot.
13? Is there?
Yeah.
50.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Good call, Joe.
What's the final bidding price?
So the final amount with alternate is about $6,174,000. 13 bidders, which it was actually a fully packed room. So to the winning bidder, congratulations, hopefully after this roll call. But to everyone else, I said thank you and get ready, sharpen your pencil. We got a lot more coming.
More coming.
With that,
I'm really glad to see the price. So it's right on the money with what our architect had predicted.
it was, we're right where we should be.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, next we have committee report.
No, I gotta call roll, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I
Oh, you haven't
interrupted you.
called
Have
Mr. Vishal Patel?
One question before
Oh,
you
I'm
start.
sorry, Mr.
That's,
Baral Patel, yes.
Not a question, actually. Yeah, it's a question. So, this thing, the fiber network, right? So it's we get a grant, like 50% of grant for that.
We get money through the E-rate program.
I will, it's in my report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so that, and then I saw all the eSIP thing going through. That's wonderful. Awesome work.
That's something else, yeah.
Okay.
Roll
Roll
call?
call? Yeah.
Mr. Vishal Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Baral Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes, I think.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Vice President Romano?
Yes.
President Peng?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Committee reports, finance and the facility. Mr. Shi.
Okay. The committee had a meeting on March 28th at the 4 p.m. In attendance, Dr. Alderetti, Mr. Toast, Mrs. Bessie, is that how to pronounce her name? I'm sorry. Jacqueline. Mr. Ralph Baca, I missed Mr. Bill Colibus, and myself, Mohan Patel, Joe Romano, P. Capasano from USA Architect, and Marlene Baruso, both also from US Architect, and also DMR Architect Pradeep Kapoor was in attendance. Bureau, this is what you're talking about. Mr. Baca presented the 2023 projects focusing on device refresh schedule and internal fiber upgrades inside the buildings. If you recall, a couple meetings ago, we approved the upgrade for the outside between the buildings, and this is inside the building. He also shared the Emergency Connectivity Fund, ECF, with the committee. For device refresh, he presented 3 options. The first is just to upgrade the device for first graders, and the ECF will cover $440K. The district cost is $49K. The second option is new devices for first and fourth graders, and the ECF covers $960K, and the district cost is $108K. The third choice is for 3 grades, 1, 4, and 5. ECF covers 1.37, and the district cost is $253. The committee recommended to go with option 3 to maximize the ECF because these devices are eventually going to replace anyway. Let's just take advantage of the funding that we have. So that's why the rationale, and that's why the choice of a third option. The second is internal fiber upgrades. The district continue to invest in infrastructure upgrades. Internal network will be upgraded from 1 gigabyte to 10 gig. 4 bids were received for the internal fiber upgrade. Turnkey technology is the lowest bid with $134,000, $560. The second lowest bidder is $30,000 more. The district will only pay half of that. The other half will come from the ECF. 5 bids were also received for the single mode 10 gigabyte transceiver. The lowest bidder, again, is turnkey, and the total project cost is 19 grand. The district cost is half of that. The remaining will also be paid by the E-rate program. U.S. Architect, Lincoln School. U.S. Architect provided an update on the Lincoln School. Lincoln School is in its final phase of the construction. Basketball equipment have arrived. The target completion is early May. So we hope we can have a ribbon cutting in next month. The PO for the John Adams project, the architect cost is somewhere around $288K again. And a PO for the Woodrow Wilson project is somewhere around $185K. Again, this board is being very transparent on all the costs. And I mentioned last time, in the past, we don't know their cost is, and this is the transparency from this new board. And everything is here. The matrix engineering cost is $91K for the electrical work for John Adams switchgear. In order to anticipate expansion of the John Adams, we need the current switchgear is okay to handle the gym expansion, but when we talk about classroom expansion and so on, it will not be able to handle it. So that's why they're going to upgrade that to something much more stronger. The initial plan for the JMI was submitted to DOE. Review timeline is 90 days. Committee asked the meetings with USA to review the interior design, material, and coloring of the John Adams and Woodrow Wilson gyms. The meeting set up yet? I think it's next week or something, right? DMR architect. We talked about this one. The locker room renovation. Mrs. Blevin and Dr. Valentine reviewed the schematics of the locker room renovations. Woodrow Wilson will gain 3 special needs classrooms. John Adams will have 1 large bedroom. As part of the renovation, the John Adams choir will move from the current move to the current orchestra. The orchestra will move to the current bandroom. The choir right now, they're in the trailer. Herbert Hoover bid should be back in early April. We just heard that we just got the bid. TJ Construction will be a phased approach to minimize interruptions of school operations. The TJ Construction, once the bid is received, will start with the gym first. The office and front of the building renovation will be the summer of the following year. JMP kitchen proposal is somewhere around $550K, but that proposal includes the kitchen equipment. And as I mentioned before, the kitchen equipment will be paid by the enterprise fund, so the cost is much lower. JP construction bid is early, the first week of July. Bid will be awarded in August. Construction will begin in the fall. The target completion is somewhere between 16 to 18 months. On the finance and the contracts, our 2024 budget is under review by NJDOE. The 2022 audit will be presented to the board in April, which we just heard it. Edison High School stadium lights will be funded by this current year's budget at $440K. Edison and the JP Locker upgrades will also be funded by this year's budget at about $238K. JP Stadium and stadium lights will also be replaced. Roof repair for Edison High School has been completed, and JP started right around the meeting. The district has started adding water fountains with bottle filters. 21 new fountains have been added, and some of schools' fountains have all been replaced with a new bottle filling fountains. The committee requests to meet the DCO at our next meeting, because we haven't heard from them for a while. The meeting adjourned at 6 o'clock, submitted by me. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Xu.
Ms. Peng?
Yeah, Mr.
I
Patel.
have a question. I wasn't present at this meeting. You said JP construction bid will be ready first week of July. I know there are multiple projects going on, so which?
That's the 28 classroom expansion.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. White, do we have a township liaison committee?
No, we do not. We had the liaison committee this morning from 11 until 12.
Okay.
So
it sounds like-
I'll follow up with but it was an excellent meeting. We had very good attendance, and a lot of nice things happened, so
Okay. Just-
you have something to look forward to.
I'm
Same thing with
sure,
the
I'm
policy
sure.
meeting
Thank you.
as well.
Okay, so then we don't have that. Then food service reports, Mr. Xu.
Okay, it's me again. The full committee had the meeting on March 30th at 4:30. In attendance is Dr. Aldarelli, Mr. Toes, Jacqueline, myself, Jeannie White, Biro Patel, Doc Schneider, Marshall Representative Jeff Beckerman, Almeda Caldwell. Mr. Beckerman and Ms. Caldwell provide detailed data of their operations and review the participation rate of the district. Every month, the participation are increasing for both breakfast and lunch, which is a good thing. The year-to-date rate is, participation rate is somewhere around 35.7 and 25.1 for breakfast. Compared with last year's, it was 54, that's all free lunch. And last year's breakfast participation actually was lower, 21.8. The breakfast participation is higher than, okay. The north side schools have lower participations compared to the south side schools. There were suggestions to Marshall to try have naan and roti with regular bread, as well as increase vegetarian choices to see if we can increase the participation. Mrs. Caldwell also shared the negative balances for our students. The committee asked the administration to have more follow-ups with the students and parents to get the money back. The committee discussed the new GMP kitchen as admin to make it a priority and work with our architect to get it operational before the fall school year. Mr. Beckman will work with superintendent and administration team to find out the summer intern positions. Did he follow up with you guys? Okay, we're done with that. Also, Marshall's provided two $5,000 checks for scholarships to the two high schools. It's in our resolution. We accept that donation. And just to say this example of a vendor who are giving back to the community. And I hope the other vendors will do the same. Marshall's staff have participated in various holiday and community events in the Edison School District, participated in multiple activities such as the Korea Day at JP, Read Across America, Black History Month, Spanish heritage events, and etc. Mrs. Caldwell assists our district grant writer to obtain $34,051 to purchase new POS computers installed in Herbert Hoover, John Adams, JP, Woodbrook, and Woodrow Wilson schools. Meeting adjourned at 5:30.
Thank you. Any questions?
One,
Yeah, Mr.
not a
Romano.
question, a statement. I went to J.P. Stevens, and lunch was pretty good. And then I went here to Edison High. Lunch was pretty good, too.
You ate the same lunch as the kids, right?
Yeah, both places. But what was really impressive is that the orderly fashion in which the children, the students, were in lines. What was amazing is that the amount of variety. In Edison High, there was a section, just one section away from the other sections, and there was, I believe, 11 different varieties of what was being served. And there wasn't really a long line, and the students were doing really good. Both schools. I was really impressed, because I was looking for crowds and traffic, because I've been in schools where the traffic is horrendous in the hallways, but it was really, really impressive. I got to take my hat off to these people that run the school system.
Jerry, we should have
Thank
next
you.
meeting at one of those cafeterias.
Huh?
We should have next meeting at one of those cafeterias.
Okay, any other comments? No. Just a few meeting announcements. In May, we're going to have budget hearing and personnel reappointments on May 3rd at JP Stevens, 7 p.m. And then we have our regular caucus meeting, May 13th, 7 p.m. at Ed Center, and the public meeting, May 23rd at JP, 7 p.m. Now, let's have the board member comments. Anybody want to start?
As board president?
Yeah, Mr. Mohan Patel.
Yes, thank you. Last week, I had the privilege of attending YPAR at Woodrow Wilson, as well as the National History Day. Some of these projects that these kids did, these students did in these schools, were amazing. Some ideas that I could definitely bring onto the board, and we could talk about in our next meeting in different programs that they're looking for at their school level, middle school level as well. So I just wanted to say kudos to Dr. Blevin and all the students that participated in those programs. Your ideas, keep them coming, because this is for us. This is for you guys. We want to make sure that we give you the services that you're looking for. So kudos to all the students that participated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No?
Yep.
Mr. Biro Patel?
Okay, so 2 things in May. One is National School Nurse Week and the Teacher Appreciation Week. So we'll have a board meeting after that. So in advance, thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the nurses and all the teachers who do wonderful work for our district.
Thank you.
Ms. Bang?
Yeah, Mr. Vishal Patel.
Yeah, I want to share one story about school districts' rapid reaction to one issue that was reported by the student. So if you notice, when you log into Genesis, when students logs into Genesis, there's a field called user password, where you can see the user's password in a clear text. So one of the students' password was compromised. He stood up from his desk. His friends look at his password, and everybody in the class knew his password. The issue was reported to Dr. Already and Mr. Barker probably 7 p.m. at night, and issue was resolved before 8 a.m. next morning. So it was a 0 business hour response. So that's pretty amazing. Kudos to you, Mr. Dr. Already and Mr. Barker.
Yep, that's very impressive response time. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Ms. White.
Okay, I just wanted to revisit something, and I don't know if this is the right time to do it, but at the last meeting, we discussed taking one school a year to do the air conditioning, and we had just a taste of warm weather this last week. I think we should reconsider that option. I mean, it might take us 25 years before we get it all done, but I think we should look into it. Just to say, 6 weeks isn't long, or 6 weeks, it was really hot these last few weeks. And I remember last year, it was hotter here than it was in Israel. I mean, it was 101 in some of the classrooms here. You're dealing with the children with asthma and, breathing issues, and teachers as well. I think one school a year, I don't think it would kill us. I think we should look into it. That's all.
Thank you.
Board President.
Yeah, Mr. Maroon Patel.
That's an excellent point, Jeannie, that you brought up, and we are looking into air conditioning. Our buildings are going to get, the new buildings definitely will have them. Our gyms will have them. This auditorium has it. JP will have it. So we are working on getting the air conditioning in there. The key thing is to get the airflow going, and that the best way to do that is to provide the space and make sure that the kids have the classrooms, extra classrooms, so that you could take less kids in each classroom, and therefore you have more breathing space. And also it will declutter our hallways, so this way also you will be able to cool the building down that way too. But we are looking into that, and I'm glad you brought that up. And
I'm talking about elementary. I'm thinking elementary.
Elementary as well. So we'll definitely, with all these schools that we're adding the extra classrooms and everything.
I understand that.
We'll definitely be looking into the air conditioning to all these schools. Thank you. And 6 weeks, 6 months, it does make a difference. You're right. Everyone needs to be cool
For sure.
and heated whenever they need to be. Thank you.
Just for health.
Thank you. And I think Dr. Adurri has a comment. Oh, Mr.
Board
Schneider.
President, thank you. One thing that's missing from our resolutions tonight, I just wanted to bring up, and I have to give credit to Brian Rivera, who's celebrating something with his kid today, so he wasn't able to be here. But April is School Librarian Month, School Library Month. And thank you to all of our school librarians who host activities to help their schools celebrate the essential role that strong libraries play in transforming learning. So we're celebrating our nurses, and we're celebrating our teachers, and I do not want to forget about our librarians. So thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
Board President, just one more thing I needed to add. So I was able to go to some of these schools, and I saw what some of the issues were, and you're right. We also want to give kudos to the janitors and for what great job they do as well, because went to Lindenau School, they started working on the floors. They look brand new, and we're trying to hopefully could bring it into all the other schools and everybody gets on board with it. So I just wanted to shout out to Mike, one of them over there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Mr. Shi.
Okay, so we thank a lot of the staff members, and the person that was not mentioned are the crossing guards. So I had the pleasure to meet a gentleman, Craig Lehman. He has been a crossing guard for 20 years for the TJ, and he said that he's not doing there for the money, and he just loves this position and loves the kids. So it's a great example for all these crossing guards that rain and shine, they're there to help our students. So thank to all the crossing guards as well. Just want to have a question for Dr. Ararelli or Mr. Toast, because we talked about the Education Foundation, and we have tasked our district attorney to help us to get it set up. So if you can provide an update as to where we are and how the this organization is going to be shaped down the road.
Mr. Toth? Yeah, go
sure.
right ahead.
With regard to the Education Foundation, we took some action a while back, a few meetings. Since that time, Dr. Aldarelli and I have been working with Matt Mensch, Board Counsel, and Mr. Collins in order to establish the bylaws, which the draft bylaws are now complete. We have to hold one more meeting to tweak a couple of the items in those draft bylaws. Once that's done, we will file with the IRS along with the New Jersey Treasury to complete a business registration to set up the corporation. And then following that, we'll apply for the 503C status. And then, the goals of this foundation are basically to parallel a lot of the district initiatives in the, curricular and co-curricular things that the district does.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ararelli.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Pang. I hope all is well. I just have one quick, service announcement right now. We are currently engaged in kindergarten enrollment. We've opened up the portal, I believe, a few months ago. What I just wanted to reiterate, now everything is online. We do enrollment for kindergarten and all of our registration online, but we're actually designating dates so that we can focus on specific schools at this time, and we wanted to highlight a couple dates. So if you are, if you have a child that's kindergarten age as of next year, we are looking at Lindenau, Menlo, Ben Franklin, and MLK for May 1st. Our enrollment department will exclusively be focusing on those schools. So if you have questions, you'll be able to call the office at that time. Any issues with uploading documents, please feel free to call. We figured that, identifying these dates would be a little bit easier for parents so that we can make sure that the flow of information is a lot easier to kind of manage. I believe we have May 2nd is now for Marshall, Woodbrook, and Lincoln, right, Ms. Mahabir? And then May 3rd is JMP, Washington, and Woodbrook. So we are going to send a flyer out about this information. I wanted to announce it today just to let everybody know, and information will be coming out to all parents in the community. So if you have any neighbors, any parents listening currently right now, now's the opportunity to register, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Board President.
Thank you. Okay. And those hours are also announced there, right? The
Yep,
hours.
all the
Okay,
information
days and
is on there.
hours
Yep.
and schools. Okay. Okay.
Please
No.
register early.
Please, register
Don't
early.
wait till the last minute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta do it, you gotta just get it done.
Agreed.
Yep.
It's much easier for everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Okay. No more board member comments. Let's start the public comments. Anybody? I see that, the girl over there. Thank you.
Hi, dear members of the Board of Education. Thank you for taking your time to hear about my proposal for the summer math program back in January. After our meeting, I was asked to send a proposal and present it, but the district is still analyzing to see if it has the resources required to support my program. Nevertheless, the Board of Education has pushed me to upgrade this plan to optimize the proposal. It now requires fewer resources, but it still has that strong positive impact. I have established a nonprofit organization, the Learning Circle, and it is 501(c) approved and approved for the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. The Learning Circle has established the Homework Hub, a program designed to provide academic support to K-5 to K-8 students in math, science, and English. The in-person program is self-explanatory. Student volunteers will meet up with students that need help with concepts that they learned in school to build onto their understandings of the topic. This can be homework or test preparation. I know Mr. Venkat is running a similar program in the Edison Library, but I also know that not everyone can attend. I've already sent out an email to all the principals in the district asking them to help promote this program, and I'm hoping you can send an email and add it to your newsletter. I've also created a flyer that I can share with you all. Coming back to the summer math program that we discussed a few weeks back, we had talked about how we would run this program virtually. Initially, while I planned this program to be virtual, I talked about it with my partner, Neil Patel, who's a student at Woodrow Wilson Middle School. And we discussed how not all North Edison and South Edison students not all North Edison and South Edison students would be able to have that sort of communication where they could talk with other student volunteers in person. And we thought that we valued that connection and that without it, it wouldn't be as effective. So I'm here to request your support for this program. Per our last conversation, you were concerned about providing classrooms. So I already secured the facilities we need as well as the adult volunteers that we needed. So I would love for the Edison School to both endorse and market my program and give me their support. I believe that both these programs will benefit both the volunteers and the students who require the academic support. It's an opportunity for volunteers to gain valuable experience and volunteer hours and help the community and the way that our students see academics as a whole. In conclusion, I ask for your support in making the Homework Hub, and our Math Summer program reaches full potential through marketing. I am positive in this program's capability to impact the lives of K-5 to K-8 students and provide a unique opportunity for volunteers. Thank you for your time and consideration. Do you have any questions?
Ria, right?
Yeah.
So this homework club, does it also have an online option or is totally only in person?
We can always adopt, but I would really hope for it to be in person, and I can secure facilities. I've talked to Minnie Beville, and I've talked to my parents, and they're also willing to open up to using our home as a place.
Fantastic. And it's totally free for the students,
Totally
right?
free.
Yeah. Okay. I believe there's something we can do to promote this kind of service. So we'll definitely look into this.
Okay, thank you so
you,
much.
Ria.
President, so I appreciate it's free because, we, in the school district, our students already pay a lot of taxes. So everything that has to be done outside to help them should be like free and volunteering and stuff like that. If someone comes in from outside and says, I have a program which costs $80 per month, we don't want to engage those things here, right? So thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Board President?
Yeah, Dr. Ederle.
I just want to compliment Ria. You have several iterations of this vision of yours, and you're very persistent. So I appreciate that. I do. We'll look into it. I'll speak with the board president about it.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ria.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, the lady in blue.
Hi, my name is Kathy Eichert, and I've been a full-time employee of Edison for over 18 years. For most of that time, I've had great things to say about our benefits. For the last 18 months, I've had many issues. I'm here to express my concerns regarding our prescription health coverage. I know that I'm only one of many staff members who have been affected. I have copies of a full letter with detailing all my information, but for tonight, I wanted to just highlight some of the difficulties I've encountered. It began in the beginning of January of 2022 when Express Scripts stated that a medicine that I had been taking for over 40 years would no longer be covered under our plan unless I switched to generic. I called them to discuss this, but it took an intervention by our broker to rectify this. I pay the extra costs associated with getting the name brand. Then in May of 2022, I received a letter offering a program through Save On that would allow me to have my copay covered for my specialty medication. I wasn't interested in the program as I felt I was capable of paying my copays. So I did not contact them. But subsequently, I received a voicemail from the company that stated that unless I registered for the plan, there would be a delay in my medication. According to everyone, the program was voluntary. I then contacted Save On myself and was told that unless I registered for the program, I would be responsible for a 30% coinsurance of over $1,000 every 28 days. As I believed that I was only responsible for a copay under our plan, I asked to speak to someone who could explain how and when this had changed. The representative continued to push the plan, and when I told her I would not enroll, she hung up on me. In spite of this, I received many more calls from Save On. I reached out to Kerry Coyle, our broker representative, and she handled this. Save On also knew the names of my specialty medications, and I wasn't sure how that was not a HIPAA violation, because they are not the companies that are supplying my medication. Then in June of 2022, I received a notification that my prescription was being filled. As I hadn't ordered anything, I checked on the app. Express Scripts / Accredo reached out to my doctor without my knowledge to renew my prescription. Then on December 28th, 2022, which, as you know, is Christmas break and you can't contact anyone, I received yet another call from Save On, once again threatening me with that 30% coinsurance, which was now up to $2,400 every 28 days. I once again stated that Edison does not have a coinsurance and that I wished to decline. I was transferred to that department and was once again threatened with being responsible for this huge cost. On February 14th of this year, my doctor sent in a renewal for my specialty medication. Beginning on February 22nd, I attempted to renew it. They insisted that I now required an authorization for this medication that I had been taking for 6 years. After much back and forth, I finally received my name brand med on March 7th, late. I had already missed a dose. That is what they offered me. They asked me if I wanted to talk to a pharmacist to discuss what would happen if I missed a dose. It took me 2 weeks to get back on the schedule for this medication. Finally, for the last 2 months, I have received a call from my neurologist asking if I wanted to switch to generic for another of my meds. When I asked why they kept calling me when I had been taking this for years, they said that USRX was calling them and stating that it had to be switched to generic. All of these issues were not able to be resolved by myself in spite of my medical knowledge and my determination. Without Kerry Coyle, I would still be fighting. Christmas break, she actually answered me in 3 minutes. I am not sure why all of these issues keep occurring. It is challenging enough to have this health condition without the roadblocks that I've encountered. My doctor and I have worked together to ensure that my illness stays in check, and unfortunately, it takes a combination of medications. While insurance may consider my medication specialty, the medications I take are a necessity. While on this medication, I have been able to maintain my condition. If you review my attendance, you'll see that I rarely miss a day. It concerns me that this has become so difficult, and I know that I'm not the only one to face these issues, and therefore I felt compelled to speak out publicly in the hopes that something would be done to correct this. Thank you.
Ms. Eichert, I wanted to thank you for bringing your situation to my attention. That is something that I will personally look into and dialogue not only with our broker, but as well as our third-party administrator for prescription.
I apologize for the emotion, but
It's understandable.
I've had enough.
No, absolutely. Listen, one of the things that we care about here, and I know I speak for this board, and as well as all the administrators, you know, our staff's health is paramount, just
And I
as,
think I've stepped up enough through the pandemic.
without a doubt. You don't have to validate anything that you've done to me, Ms. Eichert. Your resume and your work ethic speaks for itself. So you have my word that I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to commend her. I know I'm beyond my time, but somebody has to commend Carrie Coyle.
I will personally relay that to her.
Because she is not, she'll see my name on an email, and guess what? She answers. By now, I would have put myself in the spam folder, but she
I will
has
convey your
every time.
sentiments, absolutely.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Beth.
Hi, Beth Talke. I want to commend Ms. Eichert on her comments because she's not the only one who's had issues. I have had issues this last contract. I thank you so much, Dr. Aldarelli, for helping me get them situated. My comment is also, we've also been found out starting, I guess, January 1st, that there's this company Nexus that came in for if we go to an out-of-network doctor, which on our plan we're allowed to. Now all of a sudden, our checks used to come to us, the patient, and we would have to reimburse our doctor. Now they're going directly to these doctors for a lesser amount that's been by this third party, again, that's been brought in. A lesser amount, which in some cases, some of us can be held responsible for that difference without our knowledge that this was even occurring as of January 1st. I appreciate my job. I appreciate my benefits. I do have a great plan, but I'm just kind of concerned and unsure as to why these last 3 years we've had so many problems with it, with all these third-party other companies coming in from Express Script. What are the names of them? US Express, Save On, which is relentless about certain drugs. Like, I don't understand why. I have reached out to the broker. I've reached out to some board members. Where exactly is our policy in writing as to what we're entitled to, and how is my personal information getting passed along to all these third parties who are also sometimes reaching out to my doctor, it says, on my behalf to change my medications without my knowledge? I don't understand. I've asked a few board members, I've asked the broker for things in writing, and nobody seems to have it. So if somebody could be transparent and let us know what's going on, because it does concern me that my medical conditions, the medications that I'm on, my personal information is going to all these other third-party people without our knowledge, without us being notified prior to it happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Dr. Adderley.
Thank you, Ms. Talke. I can probably address the initial piece. Ms. Talke had brought that information to my attention with regards to the reimbursement. I believe at the last board meeting, That was an internal piece that Horizon did without our knowledge. I know that our broker is currently working on that. Horizon's messaging with that was very late to the table, so we do apologize for that. And I do understand some of the issues with regards to the programs that you referenced before. The information about sharing private information is news to me with regards to that, so I will 100% have a dialogue with our healthcare broker to get to the bottom of it. So I thank you, Beth.
And Doctor, I think they do have a policy. Everybody should have a policy page, right?
Well, they have contractual language with regards to what the benefits currently are, but I think what Ms. Talke is referring to is the actual policy itself that's governed by our providers. I think that's what you're referring to.
Coverage.
Currently, yeah, and the coverage and the manner in which the coverage is provided, which I think is something that we should have access to. So just give me a little bit of time to dialogue with the broker and Horizon, as well as Express Scripts and Aetna as well too for dental. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Anybody else? Mr. Charlie Ross.
Good evening. Excuse me. A bunch of class meetings today. I lost my voice a little bit. Thank everybody for coming out. And just a couple of cool events and things that have been going on in the high. Great job by our student ambassadors today. Serena. That's Serena, you're what's great about Edison High. So I just wanted to throw that out there in a little sign language for her. I know she's checking me up on camera 4. But I also wanted to shout out our PTSO this Sunday. I don't know what you guys are doing, Mr. Romano. I know I'm going to see you there. I know I'm going to see some other people there. Baral, I know Mohin. I know you're going to be. Where's Mohin? I'm going to get him later, but I know he's going to be coming out. We've got our PTSO Fair Bazaar setting up in the junior parking lot over here, and there's a lot of different crafts. It's like a flea market, but there's also some great things. A lot of gifts are coming up. Mother's Day, so everybody come out and support the PTSO because they support all the students of Edison High, not only giving scholarships, but setting up different activities to keep our seniors safe at the end of the year. So that's the 23rd. Also on the 23rd, Sunday, our baseball team will be participating in an autism awareness game. And between both our golf team, working with the Marissa Tafaro Foundation, and tomorrow we've got a unified game where it's Edison High and JP coming over here. And then we've got an autism walk by the baseball team in the afternoon. Our students are really deeply involved in community service. They're not just athletes. Plus, right now, if we need to adjourn the meeting because it's 1-0 Edison in the 5th inning over there in North Edison baseball, just want to let you guys know. Sorry about that, 1-7-0 over the weekend. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was we talked about this great auditorium, and the air conditioning is a game changer here and in the cafeteria. But there's another auditorium that's famous in Lincoln Center, New York. The David Geffen Hall was just redone, and that's the home of the New York Philharmonic, right next to the Metropolitan Opera. And we had 8 of our students from the choir under the direction of Mr. Lisner, and they went over to Lincoln Center on Saturday and Sunday, thanks to the people from the transportation department. Our new guy, I think it's Mr. G, over there in transportation, helping to make sure that our kids got over there and had this life-changing experience on the same stage as the New York Philharmonic. This place has just been redone less than a year, and last night they had a concert with one of the biggest choral composer people. So just again, an example how the board's support for the arts and everything that we do really works so hard. And we had some mention of FCCLA. I forget which one of the board members mentioned it, but our own Adedoyin Adjene has won a scholarship, one of only 5 in the country, so that her and our advisor got to go down to the Nationals of Colorado in July 1st. So it's just a lot of great things going on both sides of Edison. I love seeing everybody come together in positivity. And, you know, I like when the Eagles win. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. I think it's about time. Okay. Do I still have any other public comments? Seeing none, motion to end the public comments?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Meeting
Thank you,
adjourned.
everyone. See you in the next meeting. Okay, that's quick.